as well. So this is the first method. I'm going to rewrite this, and I'm going to rewrite it with the binomial in the front. We're allowed to do that because multiplication is commutative, so we can change the order. I just think it's easier with the binomial in the front. Remember, we're going to double distribute here. So we're going to take each of the 5x and 4 and multiply it into the 3x squared, the 5x, and the negative 1. Then we're going to combine our like terms. So let's go ahead and do that. 5x times 3x squared is a 15. 5 times 3 is 15. But then an x times an x squared is an x cubed. Remember, we add. So we have an x and we have an xx. So that's 3x's, so x cubed. Then we're going to take the 5x again and multiply it by the 5x. So 5x, so 5 times 5 is 25, and then x times x is x squared. And then we're going to do the 5x again times the negative 1. So 5x times negative 1 is a negative 5, and then x. Now we're going to do that same thing for the 4. So 4 times 3x squared. 4 times 3 is 12, and then x squared times 1 is x squared. Then you're going to take the 4 times the 5x. So 4 times 5x is 20x. And then you're going to take 4 times the negative 1 and get a negative 4. So now we have it so that we're just adding like terms like in a polynomial. So if we start up here, we have a 15x cubed, but there are no other x cubes. So it's just going to be 15x cubed. Then 25x squared and 12x squared. 25 plus 12 is 37. So this would be a 37x squared. Remember, the exponents don't change when we're adding and subtracting. A negative 5x and a 20x is a positive 15x. And then the last thing we have is that negative 4. And so that'll attach at the end. So that is 15x cubed plus 30x squared plus 15x minus 4 is the product of multiplying 5x plus 4 times 3x squared plus 5x minus 1. So now I'm going to actually do the box method, as you have seen done in previous examples. So since it's a trinomial times a binomial, your box is going to look like this one. And I'm going to put the binomial across the top. So you're going to do 5x here and 4. This is a plus 4, so it's positive. And down the bottom, I'm going to write the trinomial. So 3x squared, 5x minus 1. And now we multiply. So remember, we take 3x squared times 5x, and we get 15x cubed. We take 3x squared times 4, and we get 12x squared. Then we take 5x times 5x, and we get 25x squared. 5x times 4, and we get 20x. Negative 1 times 5 is a negative 5x. And negative 1 times 4 is a negative 4. And now we add diagonals down because it's going to put our like terms that way. So the first one is we look at this one, and that's just by itself. So that's going to give us 15x cubed. Then we look at this diagonal, 25x squared plus 12x squared. That gives us 37x squared. The next diagonal would be this one, which is negative 5x plus 20x, gives us 15x. And the last is this one, which is just going to be a negative 4. So that's your other way of doing this problem. So your answer that you're going to put in GMM is either of them because they are the same. Example 5. This example I want to do with you is because I want to show you something that happens in the box method when you do it. So if you are one that's going to do the double distributing, this is really going to be no different. So I'm not even going to show the double distributing problem. But if you are a double distributor, go ahead and try it. See if you get what I get when I get done with the box method. But I'm going to go ahead and do the box method here because, again, I want to show you something that happens. So drawing my box, and since this is a binomial times a trinomial, I need it to be a 3 by 2 box. So I'm going to put the negative 3x squared up here, and the negative x, and then down the side I'm going to put the negative x cubed, the negative 3x, and the 4. And then we're going to go ahead and multiply. So remember, we're going to take negative x cubed times a negative 3x squared. And when we do that, we get 3x. What's exponent going to be? You have 2x's and 3x's, and so if you count them, you're going to have 5 total. Then you're going to do negative x cubed times negative x. Negative times negative is a positive, so it's going to be a 1, but we're not going to put the 1. And then x to the third and x, there are 4 x's. Next, we're going to do the negative 3 times the negative 3x squared. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. And then x times an x squared, you have how many? 2 plus 1. You have 3 x's. Then you're going to do a negative 3x times a negative x. Negative 3 times negative 1 is 3. X times x is x squared. Next, you're going to do 4 times a negative 3x squared. Positive 4 times negative 3 is a negative 12, and then x squared. Then you're going to take a 4 times a negative x and get a negative 4x. So those are all your products. Then if you remember, we do the diagonals. So your first diagonal is this one, which is just going to be 3x to the fifth. Your second diagonal is this one. So if you look, traditionally, they were giving us our like terms, but we cannot add x to the fourth and 9x cubed. They are not like terms. So what happens here is we would just write everything we see down here. So x to the fourth plus 9x cubed. I can't add those. This is what happens sometimes when you have binomials times trinomials. This diagonal here, you can add because they're both x squares. So negative 12 plus 3 is a negative 9, and then you have an x squared. Remember, we don't change the exponent when we add. And then lastly, you have this negative 4x. That is the product of negative 3x squared minus x times a negative x cubed minus 3x plus 4. You have been given 4 your turns, so please again do these. We expect you to do this, right? You do not have to do them both ways. Pick a way and use it. I have provided you with a box if you want to use the box method. If you choose to do the double distributive method, you don't need to use the box. Just ignore the box. Have a good evening.